So the biggest thing that's the venues and operators of games and events face now is to either postpone or cancel their events. And that's a tough question because nobody knows how long this thing is going to go for. Check it out, the military is in full force. Left, right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left. People out everywhere enjoying the afternoon. You see that? Holy shit. What up guys, I'm Dragon Crosspower, it's Mark here. And today we're going to talk about the escalation of the cancellations and postponements of all these events and sports games. So as you know, in the last couple months, we already did a video earlier about this, about all the cancellations that have been going on in the last month since the lockdown in China. A lot of events, major sporting events, competitions and such have been cancelled. And the rest of the world seems to have just caught on in the last 48 hours since the official word, now that they said the P word. I think it changed a lot of things, and a lot of guys have really just woken up to the fact that now this situation just got real. And basically with that announcement, tons of different events have been cancelled and a lot more coming along the way. Governments have announced a lot of in every country is different, but basically all mass gatherings, if you haven't known about it, that most mass gatherings and sporting events, sports federations, sports leagues, everybody's has either postponed or cancelled their events. I believe in the USA it's about a 250 person cap of people, and then even in places like Australia it's kicking in tomorrow, which is going to have like a 500 person cap on events and things like that. And then so basically what you've seen in the last couple months was just like events that were cancelled within China and within the national games and international games in the Asia region. Now it's basically spread out everywhere. And you have like the NBA, the hockey federation, or basketball federation, basketball, hockey, football, they all have either postponed or cancelled their matches. Some guys are saying that they are going to just run competitions without anyone in the stadiums. All the every other major sport, tennis, golf is off. No, the strongman competition, World's Strongest Man competition next month in Dubai, it's off. I don't know how many other, there's like hundreds of OCR events that have been cancelled. All the rugby is off in Australia. Pretty much every major event that's on the calendar. First of all, just a week ago was the Arnold Sports Festival, and they pulled the pin on the festival at the last minute, at basically on the Wednesday night. I had people that were attending that show and they were prepping for that show, and some guys actually were attending the expo, and they were just noticed the day before, I think it was on Wednesday or something, that they cancelled it. So like just really late notice. And then a lot of the some of the things were like people already preparing for this for months, like the Arnold Sports Festival in Australia, that just got cancelled, which is running for next week. And basically there's bodybuilders have been prepping for the last whatever 4 or 5 months for that competition, and just to be told that it's off now. You've just got so many different events and so many different levels that all these festivals are. Coachella, the music festival, Ultra Music Festival, all of these big festivals and shows like in the US has been cancelled. All the ones in Australia have as well. Royal Easter Show, that's a huge event in Australia, that's basically planned for the whole year, and it's been cancelled. So like you just got tons of events being cancelled, and you got to look at the reality now is that I think a lot of people weren't really thinking that this thing would affect them. A lot of guys were sort of like this was like a China problem and an issue like that, but now you can see that it's definitely spread over the world and it's not going away soon. Some events they actually said they're going to try to play the game, play a competition without any audience, but this still has yet to be seen because it's kind of like the audience makes up a big part of the event. And with the Arnold Festival, they ran the bodybuilding event, a strongman event, but they cancelled the other 80 or so different sports disciplines that were going to attend. If you cancel the audience, basically you're not only just cancelling the attendance to go to the event, you're basically all the people coming into the city, the spending on hotels, on food, all that kind of stuff. So hotels, tickets, rent-a-cars, basically there's a whole infrastructure of stuff that goes into preparing a competition and supporting a competition. So when you say you're cancelling an event, it's not just cancelling on the day. There's months, if not years, of preparation time that's been involved in many of these events. And as I said, that it's strange times because actually this sort of thing, most people have never seen a scale this big before. And even as we've seen the thing unfold, I'm just thinking like, wow, like it's really truly amazing. But as in sports and fitness and health, is supposed to actually promote health and fitness. Sports supposed to promote fitness and health. Just the attitude of actually having events where it could actually spread the virus, then this kind of thing we have to really consider, because I think some of the fans, some of the hardcore fans, like even in Australia, some other places, they said, oh, they don't care if the matches, if there's going to have people got the virus. Oh, we're supporters of the this is our game. We're supported no matter what. So some fans, obviously, they're concerned with the game itself. So a lot of guys are just concerned about a lot of the fans, they're just actually concerned if their favorite team is losing or something. But guys, you've got to reconsider that it's not just about the fans. It's about the whole infrastructure of the sport, all the people involved in setting it up, in arranging it, and all it takes is just a single person to spread, to come in there as a super spreader and give it to dozens, if not hundreds of people. But the real thing is that, like we said before, they don't know. You could be not showing symptoms and then you could still be spreading it. So initially some of the teams, like the football teams, rugby teams in Australia or even in Europe or in US, they were talking about running competitions without audience. And some have already started. Obviously what's going on is that teams are preparing for like national championships and world championships. So like the game must go on in some of these guys' mind, in some of the clubs and stuff. The game must go on. But on the flip side, now you're seeing some of the athletes are also testing positive for the virus. So that's happened in the NBA. They pulled the plug straight away. And just yesterday there was the Grand Prix in Australia. That was Formula 1. Formula 1 already was cancelled. Formula 1 was already cancelled in Shanghai just for earlier this month. And then the Australian Grand Prix was going to go ahead, and basically it was still confirmed to go ahead. But then on that morning, the morning of the race, when people were actually showing up they actually made an announcement and said that the race was off. There's also been reports of like a lot of the theme parks have been closed down. Obviously Disney closed down SeaWorld, Water, all these places in the US, and in Australia they're kind of like got around. There's like a little bit of a loophole in the system, as in that apparently you cannot gather a mass gatherings of 500 people over 2 hours or longer. So theme parks are saying that the most crowded rides like roller coaster only last for a few minutes. So they kind of got around the system, and we've got a loophole in the system, and they're saying that because the roller coaster only lasts for a few minutes, people are only confined in a closed space for just a couple minutes, so it doesn't count. Then you've got another thing, is that that in stadiums and in arenas, like you'll see lots of people gathered together, and the idea is to have that nobody in these large gatherings and social distancing. So they're actually saying that all these arena sports should be cancelled. That's one of the reasons why it's so close together, all the people. But another thing is that it doesn't stop people watching sports. And if you actually see people playing sports, they're not actually, a lot of guys aren't even in the arena watching it, they're in the pub and in the bar. And in the pub is where all the guys are up close against each other. So actually there's more chance of getting the virus there up close in a bar, in a confined area, versus out in the stadium. So when we see all these guys, these athletes getting tested positive now for this virus, I don't think it'll be long before all the events are going to be cancelled completely. So the real question is, do you think is it excessive to cancel all of these events? Is it really that extreme to cut these events off, or do you think that people should leave it on? You can actually leave a comments. You can leave your comments in the below. You can think that should people keep it on or not. You'll see the government thinking using this sort of tactics is like just cancelling everything. Obviously it's actually quite an important thing. If it wasn't so important, they wouldn't do so extreme measures. So you have to understand that this thing is obviously very dangerous. It has the tendency to spread very easily, and nobody wants their venue or their event sort of like tied up to be a hotspot for the virus. So the biggest thing that the venues and operators of games and events face now is to either postpone or cancel their events. And that's a tough question, because nobody knows how long this thing is going to go for. So actually you were thinking that you can just postpone it, okay? If you postpone the event, like how long are you going to postpone it for? If you postpone it for a month, 2 months, some guys are just saying postpone, or you're going to cancel it completely. Actually, the government is already putting in stringent, actually most countries around the world now, government is already like pushing to stop the mass gathering. So then you actually have to decide, like all these operators have to decide whether they should actually just to cancel the event completely or postpone it. If you postpone it, you actually need to push it back how far? Because when you need to push it back, it has to go back beyond just it's not just going to be a month or two, it's going to be longer than that. So if you're going to think about, okay, is it going to be 3 months, is it going to be 6 months, if you push it back that far, then you also have to have the notify the athletes of their preparation time, because actually athletes are still training or prepping for an event. So that's obviously coordinating the time that they peak for a particular event. And also now with all the travel restrictions, you're going to see athletes or events where people actually have to come into an event, but they're actually getting quarantined for the next 14 days or something. So they're actually need to arrive like a couple weeks even before the event to be locked into a place or into isolation. So these are there's a lot of things to consider. And I know a lot of guys will be just thinking that they want to continue their event, but it's going to be really difficult to know that actually when this thing is going to be over. And then that comes the biggest question of all, comes to the main question of the day, is that Olympics, is it going to be cancelled or not? Obviously from the beginning there's already been talks about it from before that. They said that the Olympics, with its preparation time, it's already been preparing for 7 years. 7 years, 80,000 athletes, 26 billion, I think, of investment into this thing. So it's not like something that you can just postpone. They said that if it's gonna be on, it's gonna be on. If it's not, it's gonna be cancelled. So like, we're just gonna have to wait and see on that one, because they had a strong emphasis on saying that it's going to be on. But actually, just this weekend past, it was the torch lighting ceremony, and then actually on that day, they sort of lit up and they just said, "Oh, well, there's no audience. We're just gonna light it up with just without any spectators." But then second day, it's already been cancelled. So that's a pretty bleak. I'm not sure. Well, you can see what is going to happen. I'm not sure how it's going to go, how it's going to play out in the next couple months. But as all these events are getting cancelled, more and more getting cancelled. So everybody wants to see their event on, but you have to be considerate. You have to know that, okay, if you do keep it on, what's the experience like for the athlete? What's the experience like for the audience? You do have a contingency plan. What if somebody is sick? How are you going to screen the people? How are you going to isolate the people? If there's something happened at the event, is this event going to be known as a super spreader? Your event will be known as a super spreader, or are you just selfish and not just actually going to all the other events are off and then suddenly one event is on? So there's so many questions. The more you think about it, just sort of like, you don't know. So it's a case by case thing, guys. So one thing for sure, that this thing is not going away anytime soon. We're going to have to make some major changes to the current situation, the training programs leading up to a major competition. World competitions always have national competitions. National competitions have just area competitions, local competitions. They're like a whole series, and all of them have to be changed and adjusted. So to the full extent, we're just going to have to wait and see.